Imagine a young boy standing in his driveway with a stick in his hands. Snow is falling. The cold bites at his fingers, but he doesn't care. He shoots pucks again and again, long after the sun goes down. Neighbors say the light in his garage stayed on every night. That boy was Mario Lemieux. No one around him knew that he wasn't just practicing hockey. He was preparing to change the game forever. From the very beginning, Mario wasn't just good, he was different. He grew up in a small neighborhood in Montreal where space was tight and life was simple. His family didn't have a lot, but they had love and they had a dream. His parents even built a little rink in their yard so Mario and his brothers could practice. The boards were just sheets of plywood, but for Mario, it felt like the biggest stage in the world. By the time he was a teenager, people were whispering his name. Scouts came to watch, and they left shaking their heads, wondering how someone so young could glide across the ice like that. To some, it seemed almost unfair. By the time he was 15, he wasn't just dominating games, he was rewriting them. But here's the thing, talent alone wasn't enough. Mario wasn't just chasing points or trophies, he was chasing greatness. He had this quiet confidence, a calmness that made teammates believe anything was possible when he touched the puck. In 1984, the Pittsburgh Penguins took a chance on him. The franchise was in trouble, barely surviving. Attendance was low, the team was struggling, and hope was fading fast. When Mario walked across that stage as the #1 pick, fans didn't realize they were watching history. They weren't just getting a player, they were getting a savior. From his very first game, Mario sent a message. His first shift, his first touch of the puck, he scored. The arena erupted. People who had almost given up on hockey in Pittsburgh suddenly found themselves on their feet, screaming his name. It felt like a new era had just begun. But no great story comes without struggle. Even as Mario climbed to the top, life threw obstacles at him that no one could have imagined. Injuries, setbacks, even battles off the ice would test him in ways few athletes have ever faced. And yet, every time people thought it was over for him, he came back stronger, rewriting his own story. Because Mario Lemieux wasn't just a player, he was a fighter. And what happened next would shock the sports world. Mario's rookie season wasn't just good, it was unbelievable. He scored 100 points in his very first year. For most players, that would be the highlight of their career. For Mario, it was only the beginning. Fans started to call him Super Mario, not because of the video game, but because he made the impossible look easy. But his style wasn't loud or flashy. He didn't need to brag or show off. He had this calm, almost quiet way of playing that made his greatness even more shocking. He would glide into the zone, barely looking like he was trying, and then, before defenders even realized it, he'd score. Broadcasters would lose their voices trying to describe what he had just done. One of the first signs that Mario wasn't like anyone else came in December of 1988. On one single night, he did something no one has ever done before, or since. He scored 5 goals in 5 different ways. One at even strength, one on the power play, one shorthanded, one on a penalty shot, and one into an empty net. Think about that. Every single way a goal can be scored, he did it, in one game. It was the kind of performance that didn't just make headlines, it turned him into a legend. But Mario's brilliance went far beyond scoring. He carried an entire franchise on his back. The Pittsburgh Penguins weren't just losing before he arrived. They were on the verge of disappearing. By the early 1990s, the Penguins went from underdogs to champions. In 1991, Mario led them to their very first Stanley Cup. He played through pain, through injuries, through opponents who tried everything to stop him. Still, he lifted the trophy high above his head, smiling as Pittsburgh cheered like never before. 1 year later, he did it again. Back-to-back championships. Suddenly, the Penguins were not just survivors, they were winners. But as the champagne dried and the celebrations ended, something darker was waiting for Mario. Something that had nothing to do with hockey. Something far more dangerous than any rival he had ever faced on the ice. At the height of his career, when he seemed unstoppable, life threw Mario Lemieux a challenge no one saw coming. In 1993, doctors gave him news that shocked the entire sports world. He had Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of cancer. For most people, that kind of diagnosis changes everything. For an athlete, it should have meant the end. Teammates, fans, even rivals were stunned. The idea that one of the greatest players in the world might have to walk away, not because of age or injuries, but because of cancer, was heartbreaking. But Mario wasn't wired to give up. He started treatments immediately, going through radiation therapy, which left him exhausted and weak. Yet even on those hardest days, he kept thinking about hockey. And then came the moment that no one will ever forget. On March 2nd, 1993, Mario finished a radiation treatment in the morning. Later that same day, he laced up his skates, stepped onto the ice, and played in an NHL game. Think about that. Most people wouldn't even get out of bed after a treatment like that. Mario not only showed up, he scored a goal and picked up an assist. The crowd gave him a standing ovation, not just because of what he did, but because of what he represented: courage, resilience, and the refusal to surrender. That comeback wasn't just about sports, it was about life. People battling cancer across the world looked at Mario and saw hope. They saw that even when life knocks you down, you can still rise again. But the fight took its toll. The endless treatments, the constant injuries, the pressure of carrying a franchise, it wore him down. By 1997, Mario announced his retirement. He was only 31 years old. Fans were devastated. The man who had given them everything, who had built their team into a champion, was walking away. The arena was filled with tears and cheers the night he said goodbye. For most athletes, that would have been the end of the story. But Mario Lemieux's story was never ordinary, because even in retirement, his connection to the Penguins and to the game was far from over. When Mario retired in 1997, most people thought the book was closed. He had done enough. Championships, records, awards, his legacy was secure. But life has a strange way of writing new chapters when you least expect it. Just a few years later, the Pittsburgh Penguins were in serious trouble again. The team was drowning in debt, and there were whispers they might not survive. The same franchise Mario had saved on the ice was now sinking off of it. But Mario wasn't about to watch it disappear. In an unprecedented move, he stepped in, not as a player, but as the new owner. Imagine that. The greatest player in the team's history literally bought the team to keep it alive. But then came the twist no one saw coming. On December 27th, 2000, after more than 3 years away from the game, Mario Lemieux announced he was coming back. Not as a coach, not as a manager, but as a player. Fans couldn't believe it. Retired athletes don't come back, especially not after cancer, surgeries, and years away from the speed of the NHL. But Mario wasn't most athletes. When he skated out for that first game, the crowd erupted like it was the Stanley Cup Finals. People were crying, hugging, screaming his name. And then, as if to prove he was still Super Mario, he recorded an assist on his very first shift. By the end of the night, he had a goal and 2 assists. 3 points in his first game back. At 35 years old, after everything, he was still better than almost everyone else on the ice. And it didn't stop there. Over the next seasons, Mario reminded the hockey world why he was a legend. He wasn't as fast as the new generation, but his vision, his passing, his ability to control the game, it was all still there. He became the oldest player in NHL history to score over 90 points in a season. He played in the Olympics and was chosen as Team Canada's captain, leading them to a gold medal in 2002. It felt like a fairy tale. A man who had beaten cancer, retired, saved his team, and then returned to dominate the game again. But as incredible as it was, the story wasn't finished, because the game Mario loved so much was about to take something from him once again. As magical as his comeback was, Mario's body could only take so much. Years of back pain, hip problems, and the lingering effects of cancer treatments caught up with him. In 2005, just when it seemed like he might push through again, another blow landed. Doctors discovered that Mario had an irregular heartbeat, a condition that put his health in serious danger. This wasn't about hockey anymore. This was about his life. For a man who had beaten cancer and carried a franchise on his shoulders, this was the moment where even he had to say, enough. On January 24th, 2006, Mario Lemieux announced his retirement for the second and final time. The news shook the hockey world. This wasn't just the end of a career. It was the closing chapter of a story that had inspired millions. His farewell press conference was emotional, filled with gratitude and sadness. Mario thanked the game that had given him everything, and he thanked the fans who had been with him through every high and every low. And those fans, they weren't just losing a player. They were saying goodbye to the heartbeat of their city, the man who had saved their team not once, but twice. But even as his skates were hung up for good, Mario's impact was far from over. He remained the owner of the Penguins, shaping the future of the franchise from behind the scenes. And just a year after his retirement, something incredible happened. The Penguins drafted a young player named Sidney Crosby, a teenager already being called the next one. Crosby would go on to carry the torch, but he would do it with Mario as his mentor, his teacher, and his example. When Mario finally stepped away from the ice, his influence didn't fade, it grew. Under his guidance, the Penguins rose again, this time with Sidney Crosby leading the charge. Crosby wasn't just any player. He was a prodigy, the chosen one, and the one many believed could carry the game into a new era. And he did it with Mario by his side, learning directly from the man who had redefined greatness. Together, their bond created one of the most inspiring handoffs in sports history, an all-time legend mentoring the future face of the game. Mario gave Sidney the blueprint, the support, and even the house to live in when Crosby first came to Pittsburgh. That's how much Mario cared about the future of the Penguins and of hockey itself. And the results? Unforgettable. With Crosby, the Penguins won multiple championships, building on the foundation Mario laid decades earlier. Every trophy, every victory lap, every moment of glory carried a piece of Mario's spirit with it. Today, when you walk into Pittsburgh's arena, you see his statue, frozen in time, reminding everyone of the man who refused to let his team die. Mario Lemieux's story is not just about hockey. It's about resilience, about carrying people when they can't carry themselves, and about never giving up no matter how many times life knocks you down. And if you want to see how Sidney Crosby picked up that torch and carved out his own legendary path, don't miss the full documentary we've already uploaded on this channel. You'll find a link in the description below, where you can click through on the end screen at the end of this video. Trust me, if you've been inspired by Mario's journey, Crosby's story will keep you hooked until the very last second. Because legends don't just happen, they're built brick by brick by those who came before them. And Mario Lemieux will forever be remembered as the man who built a legacy strong enough to last for generations.